The sky turned purple above the lunar base as strange ships entered orbit. Commander Eleanor Walsh watched from the command center, her face serious. This was not a drill. After years of scanning the stars, aliens had finally found Earth. "All stations report," she ordered, her voice calm despite her racing heart. "Weapons ready," said Major Alan Rodriguez. "Tanks fueled and crews on standby." Eleanor nodded. Earth had prepared for this day, though many had hoped first contact would be peaceful. The United Nations Space Command had selected her to lead the lunar defense because of her battle record. 20 years in the military had taught her to hope for the best but prepare for the worst. "They're sending a transmission," said Communications Officer Lisa Patel. The screen flickered to life. The alien had blue skin and large eyes. It spoke in perfect English. "Greetings, humans. I am Ambassador Zilrak of the Galactic Council. We come in peace and wish to welcome Earth to the galactic community." Eleanor didn't let her guard down. "This is Commander Walsh of Earth Defense Force. State your intentions." The alien smiled. "Only friendship, Commander. The Council has observed your planet for some time. Your species has reached the technology level that qualifies you for contact. We wish to begin talks for Earth to join our alliance of worlds." Over the next 3 days, the Council representatives shared information about the galaxy. They explained that thousands of alien species lived together in peace. They traded technology and helped each other. The aliens seemed surprised by human weapons, but didn't say much about them. "Your species seems very focused on defense," Ambassador Zilrak said during a tour of the base. Eleanor watched the alien carefully. "Earth has a long history of conflict. We've learned to be ready." "The Council has known peace for 10,000 years, the ambassador replied. "Most species give up such weapons once they join us." Before Eleanor could answer, alarms blared through the base. "Multiple ships dropping out of faster-than-light travel," shouted the radar operator. "They don't match Council designs. The main screen showed 20 warships approaching the moon. They were black with red markings shaped like claws. Ambassador Zilrak's face paled to a lighter blue. "Krax vessels. They shouldn't be here." "Who are they?" Eleanor demanded. "A species banned from the Council for their violence. They conquer worlds that haven't joined us yet." The ambassador looked truly afraid. "I must contact the Council. Fleet." "How long until they arrive?" Eleanor asked. 3 days at best." Eleanor's expression hardened. "We don't have 3 days." She turned to Major Rodriguez. "Deploy all tank battalions. Activate the defense grid. Get every soldier in a battle position." The ambassador seemed shocked. "Commander, you cannot hope to defeat a Krax fleet with your level of technology. They have energy shields and plasma weapons." "Then we'll have to surprise them," Eleanor said. Within an hour, the first Krax landing ships touched down 3 miles from the base. Earth satellites showed thousands of alien soldiers marching toward them. The Council representatives watched from the safety of the command center as Eleanor climbed into her tank. The machine was massive, with a heavy cannon and thick armor. Earth had built these weapons to fight on the lunar surface with special treads for the low gravity. "What are those vehicles?" asked a Council scientist, pointing at the screen where 50 tanks moved into position. "Obsolete technology," said Ambassador Zilrak. "Most species abandon physical projectiles when they discover energy weapons." Major Rodriguez, who remained in command while Eleanor led the counterattack, smiled slightly. Sometimes old ways work best. On the battlefield, Eleanor's voice came through the radio. "All units, hold position behind the ridge. Let them come to us." The Krax marched forward with confidence. They were tall, with 4 arms and reptilian features. Their weapons glowed with energy, and their officers wore floating devices that kept them above the ground. "They don't expect resistance," Eleanor told her tank crews. "They think we're helpless without the Council's help. Let's show them how humans fight." When the Krax force came within range, Eleanor gave the order. "All tanks, open fire." The lunar surface erupted as 50 tanks fired their main guns simultaneously. The shells traveled faster in the moon's low gravity, hitting the Krax lines before they could raise their shields. The aliens fell by the hundreds. Their return fire, beams of energy that could melt steel, missed most of the tanks hidden behind the ridge. "Advance," Eleanor ordered. The tanks rolled forward, treads kicking up moon dust. They fired again and again. The Krax, unused to fighting enemies with primitive weapons, didn't know how to respond. Their shields were designed to stop energy. Weapons, not solid shells traveling at high speed. From the command center, the council representatives watched in shock as human tanks tore through the alien ranks. "Impossible," whispered Ambassador Zilrak. "The Krax have conquered 12 worlds this cycle alone." "They never fought humans before," Major Rodriguez said. The battle lasted 6 hours. When it ended, the lunar surface was covered with Krax bodies and broken equipment. The surviving invaders retreated to their ships and fled the system. Eleanor's tank rolled back into the base, its treads and sides stained with greenish Krax blood. The machine had taken hits, its armor scorched and dented, but it had held together. She climbed out, her uniform dirty and torn, but her eyes bright with victory. The council representatives stared at her in silence. "The Krax will return with a larger force," Ambassador Zilrak finally said. "Then we'll be ready for them too," Eleanor replied. She looked at the ambassador with new understanding. "Your council needs us more than we need you, don't they? You've forgotten how to fight." The ambassador didn't answer immediately. Then slowly he nodded. "The council has maintained peace for so long that most member species have no true military. The Krax and others like them have taken advantage of this." Eleanor gestured to her blood-stained tank. "Then I think it's time for humanity to join your council. But we'll do it our way." That night, the ambassador sent a message to the Galactic Council. Attached were images of human tanks covered in alien blood, standing victorious on the lunar surface. The message was simple. Earth was ready to join the galactic community, not as another peaceful member, but as its defenders. 1 month. Later, Commander Eleanor Walsh led a delegation to the Galactic Council. They brought with them a gift, the same tank that had led the charge against the Krax, still bearing the stains of battle. It would sit in the council chambers as a reminder that peace sometimes required strength to maintain it. The day humanity appeared at the Galactic Council with blood-stained tanks. The balance of power in the galaxy changed forever. 6 months after the battle on the moon, Admiral Eleanor Walsh stood on the bridge of the Earth battleship EDF Intrepid. The massive vessel moved slowly toward the Galactic Council station. Through the view screen, she could see the station shining, like a star. It was much bigger than any human space station, shaped like a wheel with spokes connecting to a central hub. "Nervous?" asked Major Alan Rodriguez, who stood beside her. Eleanor shook her head. "Just careful. The council invited us here, but that doesn't mean all of them are happy about it. After defeating the Krax attack, Earth had received official recognition from the Galactic Council. Humans were invited to join as the newest member species, but Eleanor knew that their entrance would be different from other species. Most joined after centuries of peaceful development. Humans were joining because they could fight. "Council control is sending docking instructions," said the communications officer. Eleanor nodded. "Take us in slowly, and make sure our special cargo is ready for display." At the back of the ship, in the largest cargo bay, sat Eleanor's tank. The same vehicle she had used to defeat the Krax invaders. The council had specifically requested it be brought as part of the cultural exchange. Its treads still had stains from Krax blood. As the Intrepid docked with the station, Eleanor prepared her team. The human delegation included 20 soldiers. In dress uniforms, 5 diplomats and 3 scientists. All of them understood the importance of this meeting. "Remember," she told them, "we're here as potential allies, not conquerors. But don't let them push you around either. The galaxy needs to understand that humans are not like other species." The airlock opened, revealing a group of aliens waiting to greet them. Ambassador Zilrak was there, along with representatives from a dozen other species. Some looked almost human, while others were completely different, from floating gas clouds to insect-like beings. "Admiral Walsh," said Ambassador Zilrak, bowing slightly. "The Council welcomes Earth's delegation. Your arrival is historic." Eleanor returned the bow. "Thank you, Ambassador. Earth is honored to join the galactic community." As they walked through the station, Eleanor noticed how the alien representatives watched the human soldiers. Their eyes showed a mix of fear, respect, and curiosity. Word of the lunar battle had spread throughout the council. "Your station is impressive," she said, looking up at the vaulted ceilings and glowing energy fields. "The central hub has existed for 10,000 years, replied Zilrak. "Each member species adds to it. Perhaps humans will contribute something unique as well." They reached a massive circular chamber. Hundreds of alien representatives sat in rising tiers like a giant theater. At the center was an open space with a podium. Ambassador Zilrak gestured to the entrance. "The Grand Council Chamber. All major decisions affecting the galaxy are made here." As Eleanor led her delegation inside, a hush fell over the aliens. Then, slowly, whispers began to spread. She caught fragments of translated conversation. "Those are the humans. Defeated a Krayax invasion force. Still use physical weapons." The Grand Arbiter, a tall being with silver skin, rose from the highest seat. Representatives of Earth approached the center. Eleanor and her team walked forward. The chamber felt like it was holding its breath. "Before we begin the formal induction," said the Arbiter, "the Security Committee has requested to see the vehicle that was used in the defense of your moon. Is it present?" Eleanor smiled slightly. "It is. With your permission, we will bring it in now." The Arbiter nodded. Though some representatives looked uncomfortable, Eleanor signaled to the Intrepid. Moments later, the chamber doors opened wider, and her tank rolled in slowly. The machine looked out of place among the sleek, advanced technology of the Council. Its cannon was massive, its armor thick and scratched from battle. The dried greenish blood of the Krayax was still visible on its treads and sides. Gasps and murmurs spread through the chamber. Some representatives stood up to see better. Others leaned away as if the tank might attack them. "This is a Mark 7 main battle tank," Eleanor explained. "Standard Earth military equipment. This particular vehicle was part of the force that defended our lunar base from Krayax attackers." Valoran, the representative of the Assyrian species, stood up. His people looked like tall, thin humans with golden skin. "Is it customary for your species to display weapons of war in diplomatic settings?" Eleanor met his gaze. "Where we come from, peace is something you earn by being prepared for war." The chamber erupted in uncomfortable murmurs. The Arbiter raised a hand for silence. "Humans come from a different evolutionary path than many Council species. Their world has shaped them differently." Another representative spoke up. "Earth has not known the peace that Council membership brings. Perhaps in time they will set aside such machines." Eleanor stepped forward. "With respect, we have no plans to disarm. In fact, from what we've seen, the Council needs species who remember how to fight." She gestured to the tank. "You may see this as primitive or barbaric. We see it as necessary. The Krayax and others like them prey on peaceful worlds. Someone needs to stand ready." A strange silence fell over the chamber. Many representatives looked uncomfortable, but others seemed thoughtful. Finally, the Arbiter spoke again. "Perhaps the humans have wisdom we have forgotten. For too long, the Council has relied on our reputation and diplomatic skill to maintain peace. Yet the border worlds suffer raids and invasions." The Arbiter floated down from the high seat to stand before Eleanor. "Earth's approach is different from our own, but perhaps this diversity will strengthen us all." Eleanor bowed her head slightly. "That is our hope." The formal induction ceremony began. Earth was officially welcomed as the newest member of the Galactic Council. When it ended, many representatives approached the human delegation. Some were curious about human culture and science. Others seemed interested in possible military cooperation. Later, as Eleanor stood on an observation deck looking out at the stars, Ambassador Zilrak joined her. "You've made quite an impression," he said. "Some are frightened, others are relieved." "Relieved?" Eleanor asked. Zilrak's large eyes blinked slowly. "The Council has maintained peace for millennia, but peace without strength becomes vulnerability. Many outer worlds have suffered because we forgot how to defend ourselves." He gestured toward where the tank sat in the council chamber. "Your blood-stained machine reminds us of what we've lost, the ability to fight for what matters." Eleanor watched the stars. Somewhere out there, the Krayaks were planning their next move, and beyond them, other threats the Council had been avoiding for centuries. "Then it's good we arrived when we did," she said. "Humans remember how to fight. And we're ready to teach the galaxy again." The emergency alarms blared throughout the Council station just 3 days after Earth's induction ceremony. Red lights flashed in every corridor. Admiral Eleanor Walsh was meeting with diplomats from the Assyrian homeworld when the alarm started. "What's happening?" she asked, rising quickly from her seat. The Assyrian representative Valoran looked confused and afraid. "The station emergency system. It hasn't been activated in over 200 years. Eleanor's communication device buzzed. Major Rodriguez's voice came through clearly. "Admiral, you need to get to the council chamber immediately. The Krayaks have launched attacks on 3 council worlds." She turned to Valoran. "We need to go now." They ran through the corridors. Other alien representatives were moving slowly, some looking lost or confused. Many species had never experienced a real emergency before. When Eleanor reached the council chamber, she found chaos. The room that had been so orderly during the induction ceremony was now filled with shouting, crying, and arguing aliens. The Grand Arbiter tried to maintain order, but fear had taken over. 3 colony worlds under attack simultaneously. "The outer defense fleet has been destroyed. We must negotiate immediately. The Krayaks will not negotiate, they never do." Eleanor moved through the crowd until she reached the central platform. General Frank Dawson, Earth's military attaché, was already there, studying the holographic display of the attacked systems. "How bad?" Eleanor asked quietly. "Very," Dawson replied. "The Krayaks sent 10 ships to each world. The Council Defense Forces were overwhelmed in minutes." Eleanor looked at the display. The planets under attack were Pelora, Vishar, and Nexus 9. Each was home to billions of people from different Council species. "The Council has 3 options," Eleanor said loudly, her voice cutting through the noise. The chamber gradually grew quiet as all eyes turned to her. "Surrender territory to the Krayaks, request Earth's military intervention, or watch your worlds burn while you debate the ethics of warfare." The Grand Arbiter floated down to stand before her. He looked physically ill at the choices. "What would Earth's intervention entail?" Eleanor's face remained calm, but her eyes were hard. "We deploy our fleet to the affected systems. We engage and eliminate the Krayaks' forces. We establish joint Human Council defense protocols to prevent future aggression." "And what does Earth desire in exchange?" asked the Arbiter, already dreading the answer. "A permanent seat on the Council Security Committee, full access to Council technology, and recognition of Earth as the Council's primary defense force." Murmurs spread through the chamber. Some representatives looked outraged, others relieved. "You would use our crisis to advance your position?" asked one angry representative. Eleanor faced him directly. "We offer a solution to your crisis, one that will cost human lives. We ask fair compensation for that sacrifice." The Arbiter raised his hands for silence. "The Council must vote. This is unprecedented." "While you vote, people die," Eleanor said. "My ships are ready to deploy now. They only await your word." General Dawson leaned toward Eleanor. "They'll agree. They have no choice." She nodded slightly. "Humanity spent thousands of years fighting itself. Now we can use that experience to protect others." The Council debated for 1 hour while reports of destruction continued to arrive from the attacked worlds. Finally, the Arbiter called for a vote. The result was clear. Earth would be allowed to defend the Council worlds. Eleanor didn't wait for the official announcement. She was already giving orders through her communication device. "Operation Righteous Fury is approved. Deploy all ships to the coordinates I'm sending now. Rules of engagement. Protect civilian populations at all costs. The Earth fleet had been waiting at the edge of the system. 20 warships, including the massive dreadnought EDF Sovereign, jumped to faster-than-light travel toward the attacked worlds. The Council representatives gathered around the holographic display to watch. Most had never seen a real battle before. They were about to witness humanity at war. "Will your ships arrive in time?" asked Valoran, genuine concern in his voice. "Some will," Eleanor replied honestly. "Others won't. War always has a cost." The first images from Pelora arrived on the display. The planet's cities were burning. Kryax ships fired from orbit while ground forces landed in the capital. Then, suddenly, new ships appeared in the sky. "Earth vessels have arrived at Pelora," reported the Council monitoring system. The human ships didn't behave like Council defense vessels. They didn't form protective screens or attempt to negotiate. They attacked immediately, diving toward the Kryax fleet with weapons blazing. "Your ships are entering the atmosphere," said Valoran in shock. "That's extremely dangerous." "Not as dangerous as leaving civilians undefended," Eleanor replied. The display showed human dropships landing in the Peloran capital. Inside were tanks and soldiers, led by Lieutenant Olivia Garcia. Her orders were simple: hold position at all costs and protect the civilian evacuation centers. For 3 days, the Council chamber remained active as representatives watched the battles unfold across 3 worlds. They saw human soldiers fighting and dying alongside Council defense forces. They witnessed tactics they had forgotten centuries ago: ambushes, flanking maneuvers, and strategic retreats. On Pelora, Lieutenant Garcia's forces were surrounded on a ridge outside the capital. Kryax troops attacked again and again, but the humans held their position, allowing thousands of civilians to escape. "They cannot possibly survive another attack," said one Council representative, watching Garcia's dwindling forces. "You don't understand humans yet," Eleanor replied. "We fight hardest when the situation seems hopeless." When reinforcements finally arrived at Garcia's position, the Council representatives watched in awe. The ridge was littered with Kryax bodies and human tanks stood with their cannons still smoking. Lieutenant Garcia was wounded but alive, directing her troops from the front line. After a week of intense fighting, the Kryax forces began to retreat. They had never faced such resistance before. The Council worlds were used to surrendering, quickly, not fighting back with such determination. In the Council chamber, the mood had changed. Representatives who had feared or disliked humans now watched them with new respect. They saw a species willing to sacrifice for others, to fight battles that weren't their own. "Admiral," said the Grand Arbiter, as the last Kryax ship fled from Nexus 9, "the Council owes Earth a debt we cannot easily repay." Eleanor looked tired. She had not slept much during the crisis, monitoring the battles and making difficult decisions. "This is just the beginning," she said. "The Kryax will return and others like them. The galaxy has grown too comfortable with peace. It has forgotten that peace must sometimes be defended with force." She gestured to the holographic display, showing the human fleet regrouping. "Earth remembers, and now we will teach the Council to remember too." The representatives looked at each other, understanding that the galaxy had changed forever. The peaceful Council now had warriors among them. Warriors with blood-stained tanks and a determination to protect what they believed in. The day humanity appeared at the Galactic Council had seemed shocking. Now the Council understood why such a species had been needed all along. The EDF Sovereign moved through space, its massive engines glowing blue against the darkness. On the bridge, Admiral Eleanor Walsh studied reports from the 3 worlds they had defended. 2 weeks had passed since Operation Righteous Fury began. The Kryax forces had been pushed back, but the cost had been high. "Casualty reports, Major," she said to Rodriguez, who stood at her side. 27 ships damaged, 3 destroyed, 142 soldiers killed in action, 318 wounded. Rodriguez's voice was steady, but his eyes showed the weight of those numbers. Eleanor nodded. Each loss hurt, but she had expected worse. "And the Council worlds?" "Pelora is secure. Lieutenant Garcia's forces held the capital. Civilian casualties were minimal. Rodriguez scrolled through his data pad. Vishar suffered heavy damage to its southern continent. Nexus 9 lost 2 major cities before our ships arrived. Eleanor looked out at the stars. The human fleet had spread thin to defend 3 planets at once. If the Krayaks had attacked more worlds, they might not have succeeded. The Council representatives are requesting your presence at an emergency session, Rodriguez said. They want to discuss the new defense protocols. Tell them I'll be there in 6 hours. Eleanor turned from the window. First, I want to visit the wounded. The medical bay of the Sovereign was filled with injured soldiers. Some were recovering from energy weapon burns. Others had lost limbs or suffered internal injuries. Eleanor walked slowly between the beds, stopping to speak with each person. She paused longest at Lieutenant Garcia's bed. The young officer was awake, her face pale but determined. Her right arm was bandaged and medical devices monitored her. Vital signs. Lieutenant, Eleanor said, I hear you held the ridge against impossible odds. Garcia tried to sit up straighter. Just doing my job, Admiral. My team deserves the credit. The Peloran civilians you saved are calling you the Shield of Pelora. Eleanor smiled slightly. It seems humans are making quite a name for ourselves. Garcia looked down at her injuries. The Krayaks fight differently than I expected. Their weapons are advanced, but their tactics are simple. They've never faced real resistance before. That's changing now. Eleanor put her hand on Garcia's shoulder. Rest and recover, Lieutenant. The galaxy will need soldiers like you in the days ahead. 6 hours later, Eleanor stood before the full Galactic Council. The chamber was different from her last visit. Where before there had been fear and chaos, now there was a strange mixture of gratitude and unease. The representatives looked at the humans with new eyes. The Grand Arbiter floated at the center of the chamber. Admiral Walsh, the Council has voted unanimously to honor Earth's warriors for their defense of our worlds. A murmur of agreement spread through the chamber. Even species that had been wary of humans now acknowledged their debt. Furthermore, continued the Arbiter, we have approved your request for a permanent seat on the Security Committee and access to Council technology. Eleanor bowed slightly. Earth thanks the Council for its trust. We will use these privileges responsibly. There is one more matter, said the Arbiter. The Council wishes to establish a joint defense force with humans training species who volunteer to relearn the arts of war. This announcement caused louder discussions among the representatives. Some seemed uncomfortable with the idea, while others nodded in approval. Valoran, the Assyrian representative, stood up. My people have known peace for 50,000 years. We have no memory of conflict, but recent events have shown us that peace cannot survive without protectors. He looked directly at Eleanor. The Assyrian collective volunteers to be the first trained by human military experts. One by one, other representatives stood to volunteer their species. Not all, but many more than Eleanor had expected. The galaxy is changing, the Arbiter said. For millennia, we believed that advanced civilization meant leaving warfare behind. Now we understand that peace must sometimes be defended with strength. Eleanor addressed the Council. Humans will teach what we know, but understand this. War is not glorious. It's painful and costly. Earth doesn't fight because we love violence. We fight because sometimes there is no other choice. After the Council session, Eleanor met with General Dawson to plan the new training program. They walked through the station, discussing which human soldiers would make the best instructors. Some species will adapt better than others, Dawson said. The Assyrians have quick reflexes. The Moridans have natural armor, but none of them have the human drive to overcome challenges. Eleanor stopped at a viewing window. Outside, Earth ships patrolled alongside Council vessels. We need to start with basic principles: courage, sacrifice, the willingness to risk yourself for others. The things that make humans human. Dawson nodded. Admiral Walsh? A voice called from behind them. Eleanor turned to see a young Peloran, their blue skin marked with the symbols of a government official. Yes, she replied. I bring a message from my world. The Peloran bowed deeply. The people of Pelora wish to honor Lieutenant Garcia and her soldiers. They saved thousands of lives during the attack. Eleanor smiled. Lieutenant Garcia would say she was just doing her job. She did more than that, the Peloran said. When the Krayaks surrounded the evacuation center, she and her tanks formed a wall of metal and flesh between our people and death. When asked why humans would die for aliens they barely knew, she told us, "We don't fight like you. We fight to win, no matter the cost." The Peloran's eyes showed deep emotion. "We did not understand humans when you arrived with your blood-stained war machines. Now we see that sometimes blood is the price of freedom." Later that night, as Eleanor prepared for sleep in her quarters on the station, she received a message from Earth. The United Nations Space Command had reviewed her reports and approved her plan for the Joint Defense Force. But there was a warning too. Some council species were concerned about giving humans too much power. Eleanor wasn't surprised. Humanity's rise from newcomers to defenders of the galaxy had happened quickly. Some fear was natural, but she believed that most council species now understood a truth humans had learned long ago. Those who want peace must be ready for war. As she looked out at the stars once more, Eleanor thought about the tank that still sat in the council chamber. Its bloodstains were now a symbol not just of humanity's warlike nature, but of their willingness to fight for others. The galaxy was beginning to understand that humans were not just warriors, they were protectors. The Krayaks had retreated, but Eleanor knew they would return, possibly with allies. The peaceful galaxy was changing, learning to defend itself again, and humans were leading the way. 1 year had passed since humanity first appeared at the Galactic Council with blood-stained tanks. The Council space station had changed in that time. Military personnel from a dozen species now walked its corridors alongside diplomats and scientists. Training areas had been built in the lower sections, and in the main docking bay, warships from Earth stood guard beside newly built Council defense vessels. Admiral Eleanor Walsh stood in her dress uniform before a mirror, adjusting the medals that now decorated her chest. Today was an important Troisen, the official ceremony to recognize Earth as a full council member with permanent leadership of the Joint Defense Force. A knock came at her door. "Enter," she called. Major Rodriguez stepped inside, also wearing his formal uniform. "The council is ready, Admiral. It's quite a crowd out there." Eleanor nodded. "Everyone wants to see the barbarians become respectable." Rodriguez smiled slightly. "I wouldn't say we're entirely respectable yet." They walked together through the station. Aliens from hundreds of worlds lined the corridors, watching the human officers pass. Some bowed in respect. Others simply stared with curious eyes. The galaxy was still adjusting to humanity's rapid rise in power and influence. The council chamber had been decorated for the ceremony. The seats were filled with representatives from every member species. At the center stood the infamous tank, Eleanor's vehicle from the lunar battle. It had been cleaned and restored, but the council had insisted on keeping some of the Krayaks' bloodstains visible, as a reminder of how Earth had earned its place. The Grand Arbiter floated above the central platform, his silver skin reflecting the chamber's lights. "Today marks a historic moment in our shared history," he announced as Eleanor and her team entered. "For the first time in 10,000 years, the Council recognizes a new protector species." The term was new, created specifically for Earth's unique role, not just a member, but a defender of the galactic peace. Eleanor walked to the center of the chamber, feeling the eyes of thousands of aliens upon her. Rodriguez and General Dawson followed, along with Lieutenant Garcia, now fully recovered and promoted for her heroism on Pelora. 1 year ago, humanity arrived among the stars as newcomers, the Arbiter continued. Some feared their warlike nature. Others dismissed their primitive technology. None could have predicted how quickly they would become essential to our survival. Images appeared in the air above them. Human ships defending council worlds, tanks, rolling across alien landscapes, soldiers training species who had forgotten the art of war. "The Krayaks' threat has diminished," said the Arbiter. "Their forces have retreated to their home systems. unwilling to face the combined might of humans and newly trained council defenders. Eleanor knew this was only partly true. The Krayaks had retreated, yes, but they were gathering allies among other aggressive species. The real test was still to come. The Council acknowledges Earth as primus inter pares in matters of defense and security, the Arbiter announced, using the ancient human phrase meaning first among equals. He formally presented Eleanor with the Council seal, a crystal sphere that glowed with inner light. She accepted it with a bow, then turned to address the gathered representatives. Humanity did not evolve in gentle environments like many of your species, she began. Earth taught us hard lessons. That peace is precious because it is fragile, that survival sometimes requires violence, and that strength must be maintained even in times of prosperity. She looked around the chamber, meeting the eyes of alien representatives who had once feared humans and now depended on them. What you saw as barbarism, we see as necessity. Where you chose to forget the art of war, we remembered, and now we offer our protection, not as conquerors but as guardians. As her words echoed through the chamber, Eleanor thought of how far they had come. From defending their lunar base with a handful of tanks to leading a galactic defense force, all in just 1 year. After the ceremony, many council representatives approached the human delegation with offers of technology exchange, scientific collaboration, and economic partnership. The galaxy was adapting to the new reality, that humans were here to stay, and their influence would only grow. Later that evening, as celebration continued throughout the station, Major Samantha Kent found Admiral Walsh alone on an observation deck, staring out at the stars. "Having second thoughts, Admiral?" Kent asked, joining her at the window. Walsh shook her head. "Just reflecting on the irony. Humanity spent thousands of years fighting each other, developing weapons of increasing destructiveness. We feared that same violence would doom us when we met alien civilizations. Instead, it saved us," Kent finished the thought. "And them," Walsh added, watching distant ships patrol council space. The galaxy needed warriors, and Earth answered the call. Kent was silent for a moment. "Some of the council species are worried about us having too much power. They wonder if humans might one day use their military strength against the very worlds they now protect." Eleanor had heard these concerns. They didn't surprise her. They're right to be cautious. Power can corrupt any species. "What keeps us from becoming the next Krayaks?" Kent asked quietly. Eleanor turned from the window to look at the younger officer. "The same thing that separates a soldier from a murderer, or a protector from a tyrant. The choice of when not to use force. The best warriors know when not to fight." She placed her hand on the window, feeling the cool surface beneath her fingers. Humanity's gift to the galaxy isn't just our ability to wage war. It's our understanding of why peace matters enough to defend it. The next morning, intelligence reports arrived from the border regions. The Krayaks were building a coalition of aggressive species, preparing for a larger assault on council space. The real war was just beginning. Eleanor called a meeting of the Joint Defense Command. Humans sat alongside newly trained alien officers, planning the defense of 1,000 worlds. They were different in appearance and evolution, but united in purpose. In the council chamber, the tank remained on display. Its bloodstains were now a symbol understood by all, that sometimes peace required sacrifice, that freedom had a cost, and that humanity was willing to pay that price not just for themselves, but for all sentient life. When the Krayaks coalition finally attacked 6 months later, they faced not just human tanks and ships, but a galaxy that had remembered how to fight. The battle was fierce, but the outcome was never in doubt. The peaceful species had learned from their human protectors that to preserve their way of life, they sometimes had to risk it. And across the stars, the story spread of the day humanity appeared at the Galactic Council with blood-stained tanks, the day that changed the galaxy forever.